Welcome back to the Four-Wheel Drive podcast driven by Shelter. We're back, Ronnie, for What Vehicle Type is Best. That was music by the Southern River Band, Let It Ride. The Four-Wheel Drive podcast on Instagram and on YouTube. You'll find us over at BackChat. Mate, how you been?
Good, mate. I've been very good, and today is a very, very important episode. I reckon possibly the most important episode if you're going to get into four-wheel driving.
It's massive. There's not much on my run sheet here, but the topic that we're covering, like I said, what vehicle type is best, it can go on forever.
Super broad.
We're going to touch on the more important details, but before we get to that, mate, you've made a trip down to our friends here at Shelter. How'd you go down there?
Yeah, well, went down to Busselton with the fam. Did a couple of wine tours and stuff. It was a bit dusty in one of the days, I got to say.
As you should be.
Yeah, that's it. But we also made some time, definitely for Shelter. Like, I've been there before, and the food is absolutely fantastic. So to the chef down at Shelter, fantastic job, mate. I loved it. I was a bit incognito. They didn't even know I was there. So I was kind of like secretly testing out what they had. Yeah, like the food critic. It was bloody awesome. Had a few shelters as well. And the BackChat, actually. It was the first time I tried the BackChat beer.
Yeah, right.
Good drop. But the rest of the day was pretty much on the 0.5s because I was the driver.
Very responsible. I like it. We're all about that here at the Four-Wheel Drive podcast. But great to see you got down there. I'm yet to get down there. Have you been down, Jaden?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I have been down. Sorry, I wasn't prepared for that one. I have been down. Yeah,
cool.
Once, and I went to Shelter, and it was amazing.
As good as expected.
It was great. Ronnie's described it perfectly. It was brilliant. Yeah, definitely get down there if you have a chance, Duggo.
I need to. Yeah. The 0.5s might be for me before the drive back up to Perth, but I look forward to that.
Yeah, well, if you are going to do that big long jetty walk, because I think it's on one of the biggest jetties around, right? I don't know the stat on it, but if you're doing that, you're probably going to.
Have you walked that?
I have once before, but usually when I end up down there, it's pretty windy.
Yeah, right. Imagine the reward, though, finishing that off and then just ducking the
Going back for a meal. Yeah.
Beautiful. All right, enough about that. Let's get into this. So the first thing I want to touch on is the basics, because if you're looking to get into the four-wheel drive game, you're going to come across the all-wheel drive vehicles as well. So I think we should give everyone an explanation on what the difference is.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's so many choices. This auto, manual, all-wheel drive, there's type. We'll get into all of that. But the all-wheel drive versus the four-wheel drive, that is a very good question, because a lot of car manufacturers and a lot of salesmen play on the four-wheel drive badges on the back of a vehicle. Now, many SUVs aren't an actual four-wheel drive, although it says four-wheel drive. Some will say AWD, which is all-wheel drive, which can also be misinterpreted as a four-wheel drive.
Yep.
But the main difference that I find that people don't understand is the fact that an all-wheel drive just sends the power and torque to where it's needed. It's more of a safety thing.
Is that all the time on
it's
road?
It's like constant four-wheel drive. Yep. And then you also have some four-wheel drives like the Land Cruiser 100, 200. They have constant all-wheel drive, but they also have a center locking diff. So that's that type. So they're like a full-time four-wheel drive, but to get actual four-wheel drive, you need to lock it in to four-wheel drive, which is the center lock.
Right.
Then you have the utes, like your ute, my Troopy, my other utes. They are a part-time four-wheel drive. So they're always two-wheel drive until you physically put it into four-wheel drive. So the center locking diff or the transfer case will then force drive back and front 50%. So that way it is split. So front and rear has the same amount of power and the same amount of torque. That's what makes a four-wheel drive.
Right. What are some examples of those all-wheel drives that you can get confused with a little bit?
Look, Subarus are generally all-wheel drives, so that can be a little bit confusing because they're called four-wheel drives. Look, some do actually have four-wheel drive as well. And the RAV4, the new one, but the old RAV4 has four-wheel drive. However, now there's another label we've got to throw in there, and that is the soft roader.
Yeah, okay. I was going to ask you about this because in my head, the all-wheel drive is perfect for soft roading. But now there's a soft roader in the mix.
Well, there's also a four-wheel drive that is also a soft roader. For example, I class an X-Trail as a soft roader. My wife has one. It doesn't have low range, but it has four-wheel drive, but limited four-wheel drive. And the same with the RAV4. The old ones have four-wheel drive, but it's only high range. It's not low range. So with a low range, it gives you that ability to drive through like a boggy situation, sand, really climb up a steep hill. Because generally speaking, in high range on a really steep incline, you're just going to end up stalling the vehicle.
Yep. So what we're going to cover here is a lot of four-wheel drive. So I want to keep touching on that all-wheel drive a little bit. If you're going to buy an all-wheel drive, what is the sort of driving that you're probably looking at doing?
To be honest, an all-wheel drive can do, I would say, as a broad statement, 75 to 85% of four-wheel driving. It's going to pretty much go anywhere. Look, if you go to the dunes, you'll be right, but you got to keep up the momentum. As soon as you get stuck, you are going to be stuck. With a four-wheel drive, providing you have the right tyre pressure, if you get stuck, you can put it into low range and then maybe get out. However, that said, an all-wheel drive with a good driver, the right tyre pressure, can actually get further than a four-wheel drive in low range with the bad tyre pressure or possibly a bad four-wheel driver.
Yeah, okay. Yep.
So there's horses for courses, but what you wouldn't take a soft roader on are like gnarly hills or up into Kimberley with some really rocky stuff, really remote stuff, or a lot of corrugations.
Yep.
Because a soft roader, they're designed for the city, whereas a Land Cruiser or say even like a Ute like yours, like a Ranger, they're built a bit more tough. They're made for work. They're made for work sites, made for the mines, particularly Ford Rangers, Hiluxes. They're made to last those harsher conditions, although in the mines, nothing lasts more than 100,000 Ks.
Yeah. Yep. Can you change like tyre sizes and stuff on an all-wheel drive? Like, are you putting different tyres on them, or is there a possibility for that?
Oh, yeah, there definitely is. But I think where the limitations come in are the parts that are available. So for a lot of vehicles, like say for instance, again, let's go to Ranger and Hilux. They're so vastly available all around the world, especially in particular in Australia. So lift kits from all manufacturers are available for either of those vehicles. But if you took a Kia or something like that, there'll be very limited stuff available for it. Same with a Subaru, although you can do it, but you really got to get into those forums and into those Facebook groups of Subaru owners and get all the information from the very knowledgeable people who are just like nutters. They're right into it, like a Land Cruiser nutter or a Defender nutter. Defender nutters are particularly nutters, but so are Tribute owners.
Well, that's at least you put your hand up. It'd be cool to actually see some of those soft rotors or the all-wheel drives that people have gone out to. I know we're talking about you off the factory floor a little bit here, but if there's anyone out there, send them in, because I'd love to see a few of what people have come up with for those soft rotors. Because like you say, the right driver in the driver's seat and tyre pressures and all this, if you're going to have a car that's going to get you around the city nice and easy to park, but then you want to hit the dunes on a weekend and have some fun, then you maybe don't have to go out and spend $80,000 on a brand new Ute. Yeah,
totally agree.
It'd be cool to see some of those sent through. If you can, please.
I've seen all kinds of weird stuff at the Lancelot Sand Dunes, to be honest. I saw some hire cars there once.
Oh, yeah.
The
no-birds?
Yeah, the no-birds. And I think they were i20s or maybe i30s, the Hyundais.
Yeah.
Wife used to have one of those. Zippy cars.
Yeah. Good fun to get around in.
Great for the city, great for the suburbs, not at Lancelot. These were tourists, and they didn't understand that, you can't just take a car freaking everywhere. They're driving down on the hard packed sand. So they actually got pretty far in. And then just before we get to the beach, we spotted them. They were both stuck. We managed to push them out by hand because we didn't want to put any recovery thing on it, because otherwise we're liable to damage the car. Told them which way to go. They went, and then for some reason they turned towards the beach, and I was like, you know what? I've done my thing. I've helped them out. I'm out of here.
Yeah. Just take the advice there, people. If only they knew who you were. That might have helped them.
I still didn't listen, mate.
Hey, that's enough on the all-wheel drive stuff. I want to get into our touring, four-wheel driving, whatever you want to call it, vehicles. Well, I want to get Jaden involved too, because I want to touch on everything that we've got. So, Ute, wagon, troopy style, truck.
Yeah, there's a lot of choice there.
Start talking about the different reasons.
So I think the way people get into four-wheel driving, generally speaking, is either they have a work Ute and they want to get into four-wheel driving because they have the vehicle already. It might be the boss's car, and they get permission, maybe sometimes not, and then they go full driving and get right into it.
Yep.
Others will have the city wagon, but don't realise the capability of, say, a Prado or a Ford Everest, or I know I keep talking about Toyota and Ford, but those are the most sold vehicles, and that's what most people have.
Yep.
Or Pajeros even. So they're very capable vehicles, and if you already own them, and a lot of people buy them just for city driving, well, they'll head off and go full driving. So I think the people that own those cars don't think about buying that particular vehicle just for full driving. But once they get into full driving, that's when they want to make a choice. But what I see and find is that people have a ute, their mind goes to the ute. They don't think outside the box most of the time. So they want to do this ute up. However, a wagon may actually suit them better. So the message I like to get across is, if you have a work ute and you're getting into full driving and you want to do up that ute, maybe have a think about the wagon.
Yep.
Vice versa as well. Because certain things suit people in different ways, and you're honestly not going to know until you actually do it.
Yep.
But there are some things that, are going to help you.
What vehicle type is best is going to be so different to everyone's situation. But I suppose in terms of the ute and the Troopy, which you own both of at the moment, currently, what's the pros and cons? And I know we've spoken a little bit about it, but the tourer, the dedicated tourer, where does it all fit in?
Sure. So with tourers, dedicated tourers, weekend warriors, and the family car.
It's a great breakdown.
I think those are the categories.
That's the four of them, isn't it?
Yeah, that's So we'll start with the family car. Family car, you have a car. It's an SUV, all-wheel drive, four-wheel drive. Let's go to the dunes. Let's go to the beach. Let's go to Vic High Country. Let's go wherever and just, start, slow, easy, and then from there progress as you learn. The weekend warrior, that's the person who, usually like a young fella.
Yep.
Who wants to just go out and camp with mates. Generally speaking, a ute or a wagon, doesn't really matter. It's the weekend that they kind of set it up for the weekends. They enjoy the outdoors, whether they're dirt biking or kayaking or whatever it is. And then the tourer, I find that the tourers, there's two different types of tourer. So a normal touring vehicle is something that has a fridge, dedicated fridge, and suspension, tyres, bull bar, comms, maybe some driving lights set up to tow something.
Yep.
They're great options for people who have families of maybe 5 occupants, maybe even more than that, because the camper trailer or caravan can cater their needs for the camping. But the dedicated tourer, you can only really do that with 4 people, no more, I reckon, because the whole vehicle is the vessel that they're using to sleep, cook, do everything else in as well. So to do that, you kind of, like my Troopy, I'll just chuck that in, 4-seater, rooftop tent or conversion, so me and the wife can sleep in that, and then we'll throw a swag on top and the kids can stay in that. We could do a 1-week trip with the supplies we have, but no more than that.
Yeah, okay.
However, if I went on my own, I could go 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
Yep.
Because it's only one occupant to worry about.
Yeah, righto. Yep. What's the limitations, Jaden, with your 76, a wagon? What do you find?
I guess when you're comparing it to a Troopy space.
Yeah.
Obviously, a Troopy's got more. There's not much you can do about that.
Yep.
Same with a wagon as well. Like being able to put, a ute, being able to put stuff in the back.
Yeah.
But I think if you plan what you're going to put in your car, you really plan what you're going to be setting up. You can get drawers and stuff in the back. I don't really find that I've got too many limitations.
Yeah.
I had to get a rear bar to put the spare tyre on because I've got 35s on it. They don't fit on the standard wheel mount on the back of the door, so I had to get a rear bar. Obviously, because I've got a rooftop tent as well. Throwing 35s on top of a rooftop tent is fucking hard work, mate. I'll tell you that much. It's fucking hard work,
Top heavy.
Put a crane on top.
It's
now.
fucking heavy, mate. Getting it up there, it's definitely a 2-person job, and I don't feel comfortable having it up there either. So rear bar, if you're getting a wagon, rear bar, and you're planning on putting 35s on it as well. I think rear bar is definitely something that you need to plan for because it's going to be a necessity.
Yeah. I think with when you're thinking is it a family or is it just yourself and your partner? Because then the wagon, if you've got 2 people sitting in the back of that now, you're you're starting to use up a lot of that space that you once had, maybe to throw some chairs on the back seats and stuff like that.
That's right. There's a lot less real estate. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think like we're chopping and changing a little bit here, but two people, you can almost bring the car further this way. It's a shorter wheelbase, the 76. You can have a little bit less space, but the more people you're packing in, you just need more space. It's just.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like say take the Troopy versus the Voice Beyond's wagon. if Jaden's going by himself or even with his partner, well, that's two people. He'll be able to start from the back seats back to fill all that up. If I go away and I've got the kids in the back and a partner in the front, all of a sudden, I've only got that much space to play with. So Jaden will actually have more space. Yeah. So it's an interesting thing.
You know what I forgot too? Dogs.
Oh, dogs.
Yeah.
That's a big
dogs
one
are
for
a big
choosing,
one, yeah,
like,
definitely.
what you're going to go with, because my dogs struggle to fit in the back of mine at the moment. But I've got the Ute. I can still put them in the back. But if I want to stock the back up with a lot of stuff, then I've got to have the dogs on the back seats, which now there's fur going everywhere, and it's shit.
Yeah.
So it's like that's another one to think about when you're choosing between
definitely
the different types of four-wheel drives.
It's interesting you brought up the dogs, because I went away last weekend to my sister's place. She lives out at Cadoo, which is out past Wongan Hills and that. They got a farm out there. So went out there, and before we went, I've done a Troopy fit out. So I've done the kitchen on one side, the fridge on the other. So I had this narrow walkway, which you saw just before.
Yep. So
it's quite narrow. And I have a 52 kilo Ridgeback, and
52 kilos.
She's a big girl, and my daughter was adamant that dog's coming with us. me and the missus are like, nah, it's not going to happen. But then, lo and behold, we're inside packing everything, and she's got the bloody dog in the back. And I said, can she turn around? Oh yeah, she turned around. It turns out to be total bullshit. So 52 kilo dog in the middle of that passageway. But she loved it.
Made it
so
work, yeah.
2.5 hours sitting there, 2.5 hours back.
No
Fine.
complaints.
No complaints.
Good dog. Yeah, that is another one to think about, the dogs, which is I feel like everyone's got dogs. So
yeah,
just make sure that comes into the calculations.
Definitely want to think about. I think another one as well that I didn't mention, just leg room in the back. If you're traveling with more than two people as well, leg room in the back of those 70 series, 76 at least, is just horrendous.
Yeah, okay.
Like you're going to have a hard time. You will have a hard time if you're a grown adult. You're going to have a hard time in the back of there. So
or a teenager.
Yeah, or a teenager.
Yeah.
Even a child was going to have a bad time with legroom back there. That's how bad it is. It's pretty shallow.
What about when you fit out, like, because a lot of the knocks on the Land Cruisers, the 70 series seats, and you get the aftermarket seats put in, then I think they almost set you back a little bit more, don't they, with room in the back?
They do, actually.
Yeah.
They do. But what we do as 70 series owners, put those flashy seats in, we move them forward and go, no, there's heaps of room.
Yeah, and then you're chewing your knees.
But really, there isn't. Like, my daughter's pretty tall, my eldest daughter, so she would not like to sit in the back of the 79 anymore.
Yep.
It's just not enough room, but she fits good in the front seat, obviously. But in the Troopy, you've actually got more room.
Yeah, right.
It's bizarre. It's it's actually not even a shorter vehicle, but, it's seen as a two-seater, but actually got more room for the kids in the back.
Yeah, righto. Yep. Well, I suppose once you've gone and had over 3 kids and you can't physically fit in a four-wheel drive anymore, we've got trucks too. I'm not saying if you have 4 kids, you've got to get a Unimog, but the different types of touring trucks as well that there are out there, and they're starting to see, like, on YouTube, I think of the Outfit in their Unimog, and they've just had a Bubs, and they're living out of this thing full time basically, and it's an awesome setup. Are they becoming a little bit more popular, the trucks?
I think they are. Like, I think they're becoming more popular in Australia, but they're very popular overseas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like heaps of people travel Europe and America and stuff in them, or through Asia, Middle East, Africa. There's a lot of those getting around, but you're really starting to see more in Australia.
Yep.
You didn't really see that before. It's just all Land Cruisers, Patrols, and some Rangers.
Is that is that because the price of some of the four-wheel drives, and maybe through COVID a little bit as well,
I think it's
skyrocketed? So if you like, I don't know I'm sure the trucks still cost more, but is it almost like you can go and spend say 200 on a truck. I don't know what the numbers are. You spend 200 on a truck, but 100 on a Land Cruiser, but you're getting all of this. Like, there's so much extra space. You're running these big things on there.
It's interesting. I think it's more because the frontline machinery, they get all the stuff from the Australian Army Defence Force and they auction it. A lot of those Unimogs have come out in recent decade or whatever.
Right.
And those you can pick up for a really good price, but they're very basic. Then you got to get them registered.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a process. I bought a trailer, which it was a bit of a process to get it registered, just a trailer. But so a lot of these people will buy those Unimogs because they come across as if they're millionaires and they have a lot of money. But really, most of these people, they're just putting all their heart and soul in and doing farming work, whatever they have to do so they can keep traveling.
I love that.
To keep maintaining these vehicles. And really, that in reality, they have probably got less money than, the average person who's working. So, I mean, they are working, but these vehicles, they're probably picking up for like between 18 to 28,000. And then
those Unimogs?
Yeah. And then they're building them up.
Jeez, I've got no idea what I'm talking about.
But it depends. Like, some people import them from Germany. Those vehicles cost a shitload, like a shit ton.
Yeah, okay.
There was one guy, it's called the Doomsday Truck episode. I can't remember what it was, or modified. He had this X-Fire Unimog. Huge. This thing, I think he sold it for 350, 400 grand. This thing was huge.
Yeah, right.
That was worth a lot. And I think what happens is those Unimogs make all the other Unimogs look super expensive.
Yeah, okay. Yep.
They're super expensive to run. That's one thing I can confirm.
Yeah.
Interviewing some of these people, and the wheels alone and the tires are huge.
Yep.
And they need like almost like a crane to move them around and all that as well. But
so getting one's all good and well, but then you got to the cost of actually fitting them out to tour.
Yeah, it comes at a cost, and a lot of them. I mean, you can just build a shipping container and put it in the back of it. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah, I've just searched up the Isuzu N series, the MPS. I typed in MPS 300. I don't know if that's the actual thing. I'm on truck sales now, by the way. I'm not like exclusively car sales. I'm on bike sales, truck sales, all of it. But check that out. That's a 2023 model, brand new truck for 160 grand. So that's obviously in Australia already, and a brand new truck. But like that's not much more than
viewers.
Which way is that? Yeah, there.
No, you got it there.
That's not much more than a Ram.
Just check your search browser in case.
Actually, sorry, can you delete that, Jaden? But that is an awesome, and I've seen a couple of these online too, kitted out. That is an awesome vehicle. Like,
how much are they going for? Like kitted?
Kitted, yeah. I'm scrolling through. There's a lot of like tippers and like they've kitted them out with like fire trucks and stuff. Here's one, a 2023 model, and that's got your tyres, your bar on it already, and it's got a flatbed tray ready to put whatever you want on it. That's at 163. So if you find one that's 5 or 6 years old, might have done 100,000 Ks, but it's got I'll find one. Give me till the end of the show, I'll find one.
I get the feeling
you keep talking and I'll find this.
I get the feeling
I think we got a new segment there, boys.
Well, next time we see Duggo, there'll be his Ranger in the back of one of these trucks.
I won't be living around the corner anymore. I'll be living in the hills somewhere.
Yeah,
here we go. Oh, actually, this is going to hurt. This is a brand new truck though, all ready to go. 260.
260.
That's ready to go though. Like that's set up like that.
Oh wow. Well, okay. Let's put this into perspective. You could buy a 200 series Land Cruiser fully decked out for somewhere around $150,000 to $180,000. You're not going to get it much cheaper than that, right? That's like one that's fully decked out. Then you got to add a caravan to have the same accommodation as that.
Yeah.
So if you went to go for that, you wouldn't need a $100,000 caravan or a $50,000 caravan. You could go that truck and you got everything.
This
you
is
need.
incredible.
Yeah, and then you could get your little RAV4 and tow it behind it.
Yes, that is the go. This is unreal.
Yeah.
260. I don't have it, but
retirement plan in place.
Yeah. That's interesting. But yeah, so that's the other one I suppose that is starting to become a little bit more popular as well is that style of travel, which I think is really cool to just see a little bit at through YouTube and stuff at the moment. It's
for
some awesome stuff out there.
There's also the Canter. I mean, that's a reasonably
Mitsubishi?
priced. Yeah, Mitsubishi Canter.
Yeah.
we actually did an interview with a guy who had one, and he put an LS motor in it, and that thing was the other thing was just lighting up. It was awesome. Yeah, look, vehicle choice. I just want to go back to the Ute and wagon, because as a broad statement, if people are trying to work out what they should go for and they don't really know and they're sitting on the fence, if you want to, we'll see if the voice behind agrees here, but I find that a wagon would be a cheaper and more affordable option rather than a Ute, because a Ute, the tray's open. Or you need to build a canopy, blah, 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 blah. Yep. That's going to add up a lot of cost. With a wagon, it's already there. It's already lockable. You can throw all your stuff in it. It's safe. It's secure.
Yep.
You can have 5 occupants, almost like even 7 occupants in some cases. And it's lockable. And all you need to do is put a set of drawers in and a fridge. Off you go.
Yep.
And something you might be impressed with, when you touched on if you have, what if you have more than 3 or 3 kids or something? There's a Y63, the new Patrol.
Yeah.
The boot space on those, if it's a 7-seater, actually, I think he had 4 kids maybe. He had that much space at the back and then 1 spare seat. And in that space, he was able to do a 4-day tag along on the Holland track, pregnant wife, and all these kids.
Wow.
And they had as much fun as everyone else, but he was utilising every square inch of that roof rack, and he was using a tent, because a tent versus swag is a big difference.
Yeah, good call.
But he still had to have all the mattresses. So
what's that, Jane?
We'll talk about this later when we get to when we bring the fire pit out.
Oh, okay.
Don't worry. Right.
We'll bring this out.
I was going to say, because I was like,
this is almost a little daddy. We'll get to it. Let's not tease anyone yet. But when we get to the fire pit, you guys are going to want to switch to YouTube if you're not there already, because there's some good images.
Cool, because there is something else I want to touch on before we get to whatever that is. But is auto v manual. So it's whatever you've got. You've made your choice, but you can save yourself a few bucks going manual. But
all right, well, I'm going to apologise in advance to all Gen Y people who are listening or watching. You guys don't know how to get a manual license anymore, so I'm kidding.
Can I just put my hand up? Actually, I didn't really want to bring this up on this, especially with you guys around, but I actually don't have my manual license.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Duggan doesn't have a manual license.
I thought I'd just get out in front of this because I knew it would pop up somewhere, and I've actually been when I came on board with the 4-wheel drive podcast, I was like, maybe I should just quickly go and get my manual license before I jump on this.
We found his kryptonite manual.
Yeah. So I can drive a manual, but the way that it was done in Victoria, so getting across from Victoria to WA. Once you got off your P's in Victoria, you're open slather. You can drive whatever you want. But over here, if you didn't do that, then you had to. So I didn't learn the manual. Mum and Dad just didn't have manual cars at the time, and then got over here learning in an auto. So I had to get an auto P's in Victoria, and then got to here, and you have to physically go and get it changed even once you're off your P's.
Oh, really?
So So I'm just putting that out there for everyone to know. I don't have my manual license.
Is this a cover story? No.
Yeah. Test me if you want. I'll take either of your cars for a spin. Oh yeah.
See, this is what it's all about, isn't it? You're trying to get into the 70 series. That's what it is.
Grind it till you find it, eh?
Yeah. I can't say it'll come back in one piece, but
I've got a big heavy duty clutch, so. We'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see.
We'll test that out one day. But I just wanted to tell everyone before. Sorry, I cut in there, but I just wanted to get that out there because I'm that guy.
I kind of feel like I'm showing my age here too. I remember sitting with a hydraulic clutch in my XD Falcon, and I had a left calf like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and my other calf was like someone who'd never seen a gym. That was the struggles of driving to work. This is before we had the freeway extension in Perth and all that. It was a fucking nightmare, honestly.
I wish I had a story like that to tell, but I just don't. But anyway, auto V manual.
Auto V manual. Look, auto is definitely a lot easier to drive off road. It's kind of it makes things simple. However, should something go wrong, or like even if you need to tow the vehicle, you need to recover a vehicle that can't drive, you need to understand that you need to then remove the prop shafts and things like that, because the automatic gearbox does not like to be towed.
Yep.
Regardless if it's in neutral. Definitely don't do it in drive or park. A manual vehicle can be fixed, and if you grind the gear too much, you still have a few more gears, hopefully, that you can still use.
Yep.
Depending on where you damage the gearbox. I've managed to fix one Ranger that was a manual on a big tag-along trip across the Baxter, enough to get her out. So that was lucky. Had it been auto, it would have been a struggle, because it actually went pear-shaped within the dunes of Bilbunya, and I was so glad that was a manual. But look, I had a manual Hilux. Tell you what, nice to drive.
Yeah, right.
Very nice to drive. Look, I'm all about stick shift, but you can't argue with an auto, especially if you're using it as a daily. I would rather have an auto as a daily.
Yeah, okay.
But off-roading, I just like, the manual locking hubs. I've got to get out of my car and lock my car into four-wheel drive. I've got levers, and that's what I prefer.
Yep.
But I guess it's just old school. But autos are fine.
Yeah. I feel like manual's the real deal, though. Like, and I'm not a manual driver, but it's just...
It'll put a few extra hairs in your
does.
chest.
I just feel like, yeah. But anyway, no, that's good insight. This is the 4-Wheel Drive podcast driven by Shelter. I'm Liam Duggan, Ronny Dahl, and I can't drive a manual.
Oh, yeah. Fire.
Beautiful sound.
I'm imagining it getting warmer.
Yeah, it's not quite, though. But you know what that means. It's around the fire pit.
Yeah. Favourite time.
This is the time where we throw it to our voice from the sky, the voice from beyond, the 4-Wheel Drive guide, which he doesn't like.
You can just call me whatever you want.
Yeah, I'll shut the laptop.
It's fine,
just
mate. We'll jump into this one. We've got a few images to show.
Great.
First one coming up on the screen now. If you just listen to this in a podcast, you're gonna be missing out a little bit, but we'll try and explain it. This first one is it's one from me. It's one I've spotted in the wild, and hopefully this guy's listened to the 4-Wheel Drive podcast. But this is a Toyota Corolla with what I believe he told me was a 2-inch lift and all-terrain tires on.
No way.
Yep. All-terrain tires on, little awning on the side and a roof rack, and it is, in my opinion, it's pretty badass.
Yeah.
So I hope I did a good job explaining that for everyone who can't see it, but it's basically a lifted Toyota Corolla with, they might even be muddies on. I'm pretty sure they're actually muddies on.
They're
very aggressive.
Bright blue colour as well.
It's that might just be the image. It's a green.
Oh, is it?
It's a green colour, like darker green colour.
Just for context, where was this parked?
So, yeah, this is in WA. This is in Perth. This is in Wangara. This is outside a hose fitting shop.
Right.
And if he does listen to it, I'm sure he'll know who he is.
Yeah.
There can't be many of these.
No,
it's incredible.
But yeah, he said he's taken it to some places.
Absolutely.
Like he's had a bash with it.
I don't think we can really can't really call that a soft roader.
No,
that's almost.
I'll call that a sleeper. You get those the shows where they're racing cars and then they have the sleeper car. They have like three sleeper cars versus like a supercar.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this is like a sleeper 4-wheel drive. This guy will probably show up someone in a Patrol or a 70 and it'll be like,
we'll park our 3 cars
Yeah.
up and then this thing will roll in under us.
Yeah, odds on this guy getting bogged at Wyman Park, guys.
No one ever gets bogged there, mate.
No one ever gets bogged at Wyman Park.
Just the voice beyond, I heard.
That's a great
one. Not sure what's going on there, boys. Maybe we'll get into that one in a later episode.
Yeah. No, I'd love to touch on that. Thanks.
Are you holding your phone while you're driving there, or are you parked?
No, I'm parked there.
Good answer.
I'm parked there. But it was I went into the hose shop and he was like, we're having a chat, and he obviously saw my car when I parked out the front, and he's like, nice car, mate. And I was like, yeah, got muddies on it. He's like, oh, I've got muddies on my Corolla. And I was like, you got what? So yeah, I got muddies on it. I was like, I thought I'd heard him wrong. Went outside. He's like, go outside, have a look at it. Awning, muddies, 2-inch lift. Yeah. Like he's gone all out on this little.
That's cool.
Almost a daily car, isn't
respect.
it?
Yeah.
I'd take my hat off to that if I was wearing one.
Yeah.
Imaginary hat.
I'll tip my hat to that.
So the next image we've got.
creative.
We'll get this one up. This one's in from one of our listeners. He sent it in on.
Wow.
Yeah, this is a police car bogged about what would you say that is, like 5 meters from the
Not far from the water line.
from the water.
I wonder what the
Right on the
radio
ocean.
code is for that.
Who's chasing who? But that is, that's. I'm assuming a bit like actually, I can't assume in here. There's a cop car on the beach, so who knows what the reason to be that it's down there. But
Yeah, I'm impressed they got it that far because it looks pretty far
Yeah.
onto the beach. But it looks like they're getting a bit of help. I'm not going to dig into this too much.
yeah,
No,
I'd love some answers around that.
The boys in blue almost ended up in the blue by the looks of things.
Yeah, this is almost one of those ones where I know we were talking about it earlier with all-wheel drives where you have to get a bit of speed. It's almost like they were coming in there very
Yeah,
quick, and this is as far as they've got. Like they're chasing someone, aren't they?
Yeah.
I wonder if the guy or lady they apprehended is sitting in the back at the moment, handcuffed, and they're trying to get the
Yeah.
car
They're
out.
trying to get out.
That's what I'm picturing.
I'd
right
help
now.
you if I wasn't handcuffed.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll try and find out who sent that in, and I'll
Yeah,
come
I'd love
back
some
to
context
it.
around
Yeah,
that.
I'd love to get a
Yeah.
little bit more information on it, because that is absolute.
It
Just
looks like there's
gold
another
content.
like a sedan or something. Oh, actually, it could be a 200. The edge of it. Down
Yeah,
the bottom.
yeah.
Yeah.
Side profile of that. Yeah, I don't.
Interesting.
That is just.
I wonder how they got it out.
I can't even begin to guess about that one. To be honest.
So we'll move on from this one, but I'll come back to it with whoever.
Yeah, see what you
with
can
who
dig up
sent it
about
in.
that.
I'll have a quick look. But the next one here, Duggo, maybe you can do a bit of explaining on
yep.
this one.
Yeah, that's me next to my mate's Hilux there.
Oh, were you trying to drive a manual?
Nah, that's not even a manual, that thing. The vehicle that we tried to recover it with though was the 76. I wasn't allowed to drive that. But yeah, my mate's car. We were out at Wilbinga, just punch up there one morning just for a bit of fun, and then
Soft sand.
Yeah, so my mate Zane True, that's his Hilux. He's a big fan of the show. He'll be happy he gets a mention. But yeah, our other mate Jamo dug him in. So Zane went for a swim, and then Jamo, whilst he was in the water, just decided to just dig his right tyre in and bogged him basically as he was just sitting there.
So he's just digging
He just dug
under the
he just
tyre, so
dug
it kept
under
sinking.
that tyre and sunk him down.
Right, what a place to do it, because that place is soft as.
I know, yeah. It's not like we needed any help to get bogged there. And then as the day just kept getting warmer and warmer,
Yeah.
it just kept getting harder and harder to actually.
Oh, is this summer?
This is summer, yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah.
then, that was the start of a fun day. But I went down a few times that day. Just Wilbinga on the actual beach at Wilbinga is pretty soft, as you know.
So to paint the story, you went for a swim because it was hot, and then
Yep.
you guys come out and you got to then.
And he's bogged down to the chassis, and then tried to get out forward, and we just kept going further and further. Then Jamo's tried to tow him out with the 76. He's going down too.
No.
Yeah, it was a bit of a process. And then I ended up just trying to take off. I was parked sort of to the left of where I am there. And I've tried to take off. I'm going down too. Like Max Track's down, and I went. Yeah, it was just a start. Jamo just stuffed us up for the rest of the day, and it was that hot that you went for a swim, but you come straight back out. You're dripping in sweat again almost. It was just one of those days, but it was good fun.
It's not fun at the time when it's stinking hot and you're trying to recover a car.
Yeah, we got some good good footage though. The 76 was absolutely roaring trying to get this thing out, and then we actually, the Hilux and my Ranger, we didn't go back down onto the beach after this. I don't reckon. It was just like we got stuck a couple of times further up, just having a crack at a few hills inland a little bit. But Jamo went back down onto the beach in his 76, and we had to find an alternative route to getting out of where we were, so we were all in the car with him, just having a bit of a tear, and we couldn't get up the same hill we came down, but nowhere near it. And we started to think, like, because if you were like around that, like those headlands and that at Wilbinga, they start to get a bit like a bit shallow.
They get
for
steep.
the amount of sand. So
they get wind blown too.
yeah, so we started to just started to panic a little bit that we weren't actually going to get his car off the beach.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, the power of the 76 Jaden got him out
there we go.
on one of the big open sort of, those big open like basins that they almost have down to the beach. There's a few of those spread through Wilbinga. Yeah. We got out. We found one of those and got out that way. But good fun day, but didn't need to happen.
Yeah, well, must have felt pretty safe with the 76 there, mate.
We did, mate. We did.
Must have felt very safe.
There we go. Land Cruisers.
Anyway, for the image we were talking about previously, the police car that came in from Sean Chadwick. So Sean, if you listen to this episode, mate, if you could send us in some more context on that, what is going on there? Because that is a brilliant image, mate.
Let's revisit that.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Anyway, so we've got 2 questions from the fire pit from a couple of our viewers. We've got one from Ned Osborne, and he wants to know: are all-wheel drives such as the Subaru models capable for four-wheel driving?
I think we kind of answered that question earlier. I would say for most of the stuff they are. I've even featured one on the modified show, and more than capable. You do have to choose a track. You don't always. A lot of the time there's a chicken track you can take, so you can pretty much take those things anywhere, but you're just limited on space really. If you're just out for a weekender, I think drive what you have. Like that was a Corolla before.
Yeah.
Like look at that guy. That's a prime example of making work what you have.
Yep. If it's a viable option if you've got a Forester, and you want to just have a crack at a few little things, I think you'd find that most places would accommodate
definitely
for a Forester.
I'd say 80% of Australia.
Yeah. I do have when I was up in Shark Bay, the 4-drive tracks up past there in the Shark Bay area.
Are you talking past?
No, it's
towards Steep Point, or
towards Steep Point.
Yeah,
but you know how boggy and sandy they are. Was up there, and a Subaru Forester flat out redlining was struggling to try and get through, and these tourists were driving it. It made it, but at a high cost, I think. So definitely, if you're driving a Subaru, I just think be careful. You don't have a 4-wheel drive. You do have a car that can do it, but just be careful with your tracks and stuff. You will make it on most stuff, but just be careful.
You have limitations.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think that's a good point. Just be aware of your limitations.
Up at Seabird here in WA, we're on this track, and I had the whole fam in the car. This is in the Hilux, and we're driving through, and then all of a sudden there's a Subaru blocking our way because they're bogged. He had all his kids and his wife out, and they're all digging by hand, putting branches underneath, and we rocked up, and then I went to help him out. So I removed all the branches and stuff so nothing would damage the car, winched him forward, and then I said, just give it backwards, just go out the way you came because it's still smooth, but you just dug the holes here. And he made his wife and kids walk all the way back. I offered them to stand on the side step, but they didn't want to. So he just banged it all the way back. And he got out, but I think he got his ear so badly chewed off by his wife that I don't think he was ever going to go full driving again.
Did he not stop to pick up his wife and kids because he just didn't want to lose the momentum and stuff like that?
He was only like half a K from the car park.
Oh,
so he only just got in. So he hadn't loaded his tyres. So I was lowering the tyres and stuff and telling him about that. And then afterwards he tried to offer me money for helping him, and I was like, no, it's all good. And then he got offended because I wouldn't take his money, and then he threw it into my canopy, and it was all 10s and 5s. So I was like, oh well,
I'll get one of those. What are those coffees you drink? The Hunt and Brews or something like that?
Oh, the Hunt and Brews,
yeah. You'll be nice to supply those, mate. You'll be finding $5 in the back of your car.
Mate, car sale sponsorship for you, Hunt and Brew for me.
Yeah,
then we're sorted.
We're right.
Yeah, we'll work on it. We'll work on it. And our last question, J Bianchi 09, I hope I said that right, that he says, not much love for Tritons, boys. Ooh. Why is that? Absolute beast of a car.
Mate, you can't frighten a Triton.
We were just talking about this before we got on air, not knowing this question was coming either. Like, this is perfect timing. We haven't said anything negative about a Triton. Maybe we just haven't got around to Triton.
I don't think we've said anything negative. I just don't think.
We just haven't given it much of a plug.
We've kind of gone Rangers and 70 series, and we're getting towards the Land Cruiser podcast. But yeah, there's...
I have perhaps mentioned in the past that Tritons at some stage were prone to snapping when it had too much weight on the back. But it's not the only vehicle to do that.
Well, if you didn't say that, you've said it now. So.
Well, I've said it again. Look... I don't know. I don't mind Tritons.
I've got nothing against them as well. I think there's some awesome ones around as well, and I I don't mean any disrespect when I say this, but I think because there might be just that little bit cheaper than a Hilux or Ranger,
and it's not that many of them.
And there's not many. I think that you see some really cool like modifications on Tritons, because I think there's still a lot offered by the big manufacturers for Tritons.
Definitely.
And you can maybe play a little bit more. You might spend the same amount as you do for a Hilux or Ranger across the whole project, but you can actually afford a little bit more on the extras.
You can afford the mods sooner.
So I think I've seen some really cool Tritons getting around.
Yeah, I agree. I've seen some really cool Tritons as well.
I've featured a really cool Triton as well. And I've actually seen one in Queensland that was a single cab. This thing was freaking awesome. It had like some ridiculous lift. I wish I had a photo of it right here so I could show you, but it was cool. It was like a silver single cab Triton, and he just done this really cool cage and just had like real basic, but it looked cool.
Yeah.
And it pretty much went anywhere.
I haven't heard much negative chat around the engine and stuff like that. I don't know what they're rolling with, but
the only negative thing I could say about a Triton is the chassis snapping if it's overloaded. But you know, a Hilux can do the same thing. Navaras, some do as well when they're overloaded.
There's ways around that as well, isn't there? Like you just prepare the car.
You just don't overload it. You can overload any car. Like I myself have overloaded my 79 early days, and at one point it was weighing 4.2 tonne, still registered. GVM was 3.3.
Right.
So, you know, a lot of us have most people out there who build a killer vehicle that has not have the GVM upgrade that's been pit inspected. A lot of people have been there.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
Is that the Triton you're talking about?
Yeah. So that's
one.
not the single cab one, but that's one that we featured and modified, and that's really cool, that one.
Yeah, that's a wicked looking car. It's really
and
well done.
I think if any vehicle's talked about negative, it's the Jeep.
Ooh.
And Jeeps are bloody capable, except for I just wouldn't take one across a remote desert track.
Okay.
It can be done, and I know someone who's done it, but just generally speaking, they're not really built for that kind of environment. However, you put it on like a gnarly track, it'll beat any other vehicle out there.
Yeah.
From stock as well, you know. They're ready to go.
Yeah. Lauren, my partner, had a Jeep for a Wrangler for a while. We didn't do anything with it. It was just a daily driver, but it was like half sitting there. Like we ended up selling it, but it was also like, oh, hang on a second. We just got like a little bit of we're sitting on a gold mine here with this Jeep, but we didn't end up touching it. We just got a little zippy car instead. Spent too much on the Ranger.
And Jeeps are actually really, like my old man still got his, and he's had it for 10 years.
Yeah, right.
He did lose the engine, had to get it rebored. And he also lost his muffler and his sway bar and his steering dampener all on the same trip.
Right. That's it. Yeah.
But it's still made it home.
That's all that matters. I think that's pretty much it. Jaden, Ronnie, anything else? I mean, we'll continue to touch on all of this stuff through. I'm sure it'll come up again.
Yeah, we'll cover this, but
it's a pretty broad overview.
It's a very broad overview, but I think I'd just like to say, whatever you have, you can make it work, and learn to use what you have before you set your sights on the car sales and you buy something.
Yep.
Learn what it is you actually want, and don't just think about yourself, think about your family too.
Yep. And your dogs.
And your dogs. And your cat.
Yeah, well, if you travel with a cat, that's for sure. All right, that'll see us out as the Southern River Band get us out of here. The 4 Drive podcast on Instagram. Get across to us. All episodes on BackChat. See you next time.
Shelter time. Toodaloo.